Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to give you that shortcut to understanding the crucial currents shaping our world.
That's right.
Today, we're tackling part 1 of our analysis of the news from May 19th, 2025. It's a focused look, really geared towards developments relevant for your UPSC preparation.
Exactly. And you might find some of these topics are ones we've touched on before.
Yeah, think of it as useful revision. We're always aiming for that deeper understanding here.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, if you find this helpful, this concise yet comprehensive approach, do give us a like and subscribe. It helps us bring you more of these deep dives.
It really does. So we've curated quite a set of updates today. Each one, has potential links to various parts of the UPSC syllabus.
And the mission, as always, is to get beyond just the headlines, right? Extract those core insights that really matter for your prep.
That's the plan.
All right, let's dive right in then. First up, something from environmental science. The ongoing work on restoring coral reefs. Seems the University of California, San Diego has announced a new bioink, SNAP-PX.
Yes, SNAP-PX. And the reports say it boosts coral larva settlement by 20 times, which is quite significant.
20 times. Now, for anyone prepping for exams, especially with ecology in mind, that sounds like a potential breakthrough, doesn't it?
It certainly sounds promising, especially given the increasing threats reefs face from climate change, pollution, topics that, as you know, frequently appear in environmental science papers. And just to recap, coral reefs, they're these incredibly complex marine ecosystems built by tiny coral polyps secreting calcium carbonate. Think of the Great Barrier Reef, or closer to home, the Gulf of Mannar, Lakshadweep. Major biodiversity hotspots.
And their importance goes beyond just the sheer variety of life they support, right? There are economic and physical benefits, too.
Absolutely. From an economic standpoint, you've got coastal tourism, fisheries, livelihoods for millions depend on healthy reefs. And ecologically, they act as natural barriers. They protect coastlines from erosion, storm surges. That's crucial for disaster management, coastal zone regulation, things you might study.
Good point. When we discuss coral reefs, are there different types we should be aware of? For study purposes, I mean.
Yes. Broadly, you can think of 3 main types. Fringing reefs, they grow close to shore, usually with shallow lagoons. They're the most common type.
Okay.
Then you have barrier reefs. They're further offshore, separated from the mainland by bigger, deeper lagoons. The Great Barrier Reef is the classic example, of course.
Right.
And finally, atolls. These are those ring-shaped reefs that encircle a central lagoon, often formed around sinking volcanic islands. You see them a lot in the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Knowing these types helps understand their different vulnerabilities and conservation needs.
Got it. So what conditions do these delicate systems need to actually thrive? And where does something like this SNAP-PX bioink fit in?
Well, they need stable, warm water, usually between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius, and shallow depths generally less than, say, 55 meters, so sunlight can get through.
For the algae.
Exactly, for the symbiotic algae inside the corals, that's vital for their energy. They also need clear, low-nutrient salt water. They're very sensitive to pollution, sedimentation, and plenty of plankton for food.
So this SNAP-PX boosting settlement 20 times sounds great in the lab.
But yeah, there's always a but. Real-world effectiveness is the key question. Can it be scaled up? Is it cost-effective? And crucially, do those settled larvae survive long-term in the actual marine environment, which is often quite challenging? Translating lab results is always tricky.
A very crucial point. Okay, let's shift focus now. Moving to an area often debated in governance and security, the Public Safety Act, the PSA, in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right.
There are recent reports that the J&K police invoked it against 23 individuals in Srinagar. Allegations of subversive activities, threats to security and public order. This is legislation we might have discussed before, so it's a good chance to reinforce our understanding. Can you remind us what the PSA is all about?
Sure. The Jammu and Kashmir Public Safety Act, it dates back to 1978. Fundamentally, it's a preventive detention law.
Preventive detention.
Meaning it allows authorities to detain individuals before they commit an act, to prevent them from doing something considered harmful to state security or public order. And, for UPSC aspirants, understanding preventive detention, its scope, its constitutional implications, that's quite important under governance and law.
And it's known for having some pretty stringent provisions, isn't it?
It is, yes. One of the most controversial aspects is that it allows detention without trial, even if someone is already in custody or, say, they've just been granted bail on other charges.
So normal bail processes don't apply?
Not in the same way. Under the PSA, there isn't an automatic right to apply for bail initially or even guaranteed legal representation at that stage. The main legal recourse for the detained person's family is usually filing a habeas corpus petition in the High Court or Supreme Court, challenging the legality of the detention itself.
And what happens if a court actually finds the detention unlawful and quashes the order? Is that the end of it?
Not necessarily, no. The authorities can issue a fresh detention order, even after a previous one has been quashed by a court. The Act also gives quite a bit of discretionary power to the district magistrate who issues the order and provides protection for actions taken in good faith. And Section 8 lays out broad grounds for detention, things like promoting enmity, threatening public harmony. The decision rests largely with district authorities. It's also worth noting, the Act doesn't draw a sharp line based on the type of threat. Detention can be up to 1 year for public order issues and up to 2 years for state security concerns.
So the ongoing debate really centers on that balance, doesn't it? Security versus individual liberties.
Precisely. That's a core theme in Indian polity and governance that you need to grasp.
Okay, a powerful law indeed. Let's jump from contemporary legal issues way back into deep history. Paleontologists have announced a new discovery, Mosura fentoni. 506 million years old, Cambrian period. And it had 3 eyes.
Yeah, sounds like something out of science fiction, doesn't it? But it's real.
Yeah.
And it's a really fascinating find. Gives us valuable clues about the early diversification of life, that whole Cambrian explosion period. Essential stuff for understanding evolutionary history.
So what exactly was Mosura fentoni?
It's classified as an extinct radiodont. That puts it among the early relatives of modern arthropods, insects, crustaceans, spiders, that group.
And the name Mosura sounds familiar.
It does. It's apparently inspired by Mothra, the giant moth monster, because of its general body shape, kind of moth-like.
Okay, and where do they find these fossils?
Primarily in the Burgess Shale. That's in the Canadian Rockies, Yoho, and Kootenay National Parks. It's a world-famous site because it has incredible preservation of soft-bodied organisms from the Cambrian period. You don't often get that level of detail.
So beyond the 3 eyes, which is pretty amazing in itself, what else makes this creature significant for understanding early life?
Well, the 3 eyes, 2 on the sides, 1 in the middle, suggests it had a pretty advanced visual system for its time, probably an active predator.
Makes sense.
Its body was elongated, and it had these lateral flaps for swimming, maybe moving kind of like a ray does today. But one of the most remarkable things is its back end. It had this segmented region, almost like an abdomen, with 16 segments. And each segment had gills attached.
Gills on the back, that's different.
Very different, not seen in other known radiodonts. It likely made it much more efficient at breathing. It's a great example of, evolutionary experimentation. And interestingly, it's a kind of convergent evolution, developing similar features independently with later arthropods like horseshoe crabs or even insects, which also have segmented bodies and specialized respiratory structures. Those posterior gills were a really novel adaptation for radiodonts back then.
Wow. 3 eyes and specialized gills. 500 million years ago. It really shows how diverse and, surprisingly complex early life could be.
Incredible. It really does.
Okay, let's fast forward again, back to modern tech and geopolitics. India's raised concerns about the U.S. approving the sale of AIM-120C-8 AMRAAM missiles to Turkey. Now, for those of us tracking international relations and defense tech for UPSC, knowing about these systems is crucial. What exactly is this missile?
Right. The AIM-120C-8 AMRAAM, that stands for Advanced Medium-Range Air-to-Air Missile. It's a very advanced weapon designed primarily for air combat, engaging targets beyond visual range, or BV range.
Beyond visual range.
Yes. But critically, the C-8 variant also has some surface-to-air capability, making it quite versatile. It's developed by Raytheon Technologies, and it's, a key element for achieving air superiority in modern warfare.
What makes this specific C-8 variant so capable? What are its key features?
It can be launched from a wide range of modern fighter jets, F-16s, F-15s, F-18s, even the F-35. Its range, under optimal conditions, can exceed 160 kilometers. That gives the launching aircraft a huge advantage.
160 kilometers. And how fast does it travel?
It's powered by a solid-fuel rocket motor, pushing it to speeds over Mach 4. That's around 3,000 miles per hour. Very fast.
So how does it actually find and hit a target from that far away, traveling at that speed? The guidance must be sophisticated.
Extremely. It uses a combination of systems, active radar guidance, inertial navigation, and it gets GPS updates, too. This gives it what's called fire-and-forget capability.
Meaning the pilot can launch and then focus elsewhere?
Exactly. The missile guides itself, It also has a two-way data link, so it can receive real-time updates to its flight path, which is vital if you're trying to hit a highly maneuverable target. And its own radar seeker is designed to be effective even against stealth aircraft, which are harder to detect. Plus, it has advanced countermeasures against electronic jamming.
And the warhead.
It's an 18.1 kilogram high-explosive blast fragmentation warhead with a proximity fuse designed to detonate near the target for maximum effect. So yeah, its ability to engage multiple targets beyond visual range, even in a complex electronic environment. It's a strategically significant weapon system. Understanding these capabilities is definitely key for analyzing military balances and security dynamics in IR.
Absolutely. A very sophisticated piece of kit with clear strategic implications. Okay, let's move on to something aimed at making international travel smoother, hopefully. E-passports.
Ah, yes.
India's now joined, over 120 nations issuing these biometric passports? For those tracking governance and tech advancements, this is a noticeable step. What are the key things about an e-passport?
Well, visually it looks much like a traditional passport booklet, but the key difference is an embedded chip, an RFID chip, radio frequency identification usually in the cover.
And what's on that chip?
It securely stores your personal details, the same stuff printed in the passport, like name, date of birth, passport number. But crucially, it also holds your biometric data. That includes a digital photo of your face, often fingerprints, and a digital signature to verify authenticity.
So how does this chip actually make things more secure and maybe faster?
The security comes from several layers. The data on the chip is encrypted, making it very hard to skim or tamper with without authorization. There's something called Basic Access Control, or BAC, which basically means only authorized scanners, like at border control, can even read the chip.
Okay.
Then there's Passive Authentication, PA, which verifies the data hasn't been altered since the passport was issued. For more sensitive biometrics like fingerprints, there's often Extended Access Control, EAC, adding another security layer. And underpinning it all is public key infrastructure, PKI, using digital signatures to prove the passport is genuine and wasn't forged.
This is pretty robust.
It is. The aim is much better protection against identity theft and forgery. And the efficiency part comes at immigration. Those e-gates you see at airports. They can read the chip, verify the biometrics quickly, speeding up the process for travelers. Plus, meeting the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, standards means they're accepted globally.
Any other benefits?
One subtle one is privacy. Your residential address usually isn't printed in the e-passport booklet anymore. It's stored securely on the chip, accessible only to authorized officials when needed.
Right, so a move towards more modern, secure, and potentially faster travel docs. Good. Now let's look outwards again to space. NASA's GRAIL mission has given us new insights into why the moon's near side looks so different from its far side. For those studying geography or space science, what are the key takeaways?
Okay, GRAIL. That was the Gravity Recovery and Interior Laboratory mission, launched back in 2011. It used two spacecraft, named Ebb and Flow, flying in formation around the moon.
Ebb and Flow, nice names.
Yeah. And by precisely measuring the tiny changes in the distance between them caused by variations in the moon's gravity, they created the most detailed map ever of the lunar gravitational field. This lets scientists peer inside, essentially, to understand its internal structure and geological past.
And what did they find initially?
Some earlier findings from GRAIL showed the moon's crust was actually more porous and thinner than we thought. And they found evidence that the moon might have expanded slightly over time, revealed by features called dikes.
Interesting. And these recent findings focus on the near side versus the far side difference.
Exactly. We've always known they look different, the near side dominated by those dark lava plains, the Maria, while the far side is more heavily cratered and mountainous. GRAIL helped explain why.
So what's the explanation?
It seems to be a combination of factors primarily linked to Earth's gravity. The moon is tidally locked, but its orbit isn't perfectly circular. So Earth's gravity caused more flexing, more tidal deformation on the near side crust over billions of years.
Ah, like tides in our oceans, but on the rock itself.
Sort of, yes. This flexing, combined with how radioactive heat-producing elements like thorium and titanium got concentrated in the mantle beneath the near side during the moon's formation, well, it led to more intense and prolonged volcanic activity on the near side early in its history.
Creating those lava plains.
Precisely. The near side crust is also generally thinner, making it easier for magma to reach the surface. So this interplay between Earth's gravity and the moon's internal heat distribution created this long-term thermal imbalance and shaped the two distinct faces we see today. It's a fascinating story of planetary evolution.
It really is amazing how Earth has literally shaped the moon. Okay, let's bring our focus firmly back to Earth and public health. The CBSE, the Education Board, has directed affiliated schools to set up sugar boards. Now, for anyone interested in social issues, health policy, education, what's the thinking behind this?
Well, the main goal is pretty straightforward: to monitor and actively try to reduce how much sugar students are consuming in schools. It's a proactive step aimed squarely at tackling the rising rates of type 2 diabetes and obesity among children and adolescents.
Which is a major public health worry, isn't it? Type 2 diabetes used to be seen mostly as an adult issue.
It was, but unfortunately we're seeing it more and more in younger people, largely due to lifestyle factors. Just to be clear, type 2 diabetes is where your blood glucose, your blood sugar, gets too high.
Right.
This happens either because the body doesn't make enough insulin, or the insulin it does make doesn't work properly, what's called insulin resistance. Glucose from food is our main energy source, and insulin is the hormone that helps it get into our cells. In type 2, that system is broken.
And what are the main drivers behind this increase, especially in kids?
Key factors are being overweight or obese, not getting enough physical activity, and also genetics or having a family history of diabetes. It's a global issue affecting millions, and this trend in younger people is particularly concerning for future health outcomes.
Are the symptoms obvious? What should people look out for?
Often, no, not initially. Many people have no symptoms, or they develop really slowly and might seem mild. But common signs can include things like being unusually thirsty, needing to urinate more often, feeling very hungry, persistent fatigue, blurred vision, also maybe numbness or tingling in hands or feet, sores that heal slowly, or even losing weight without trying. Early detection really makes a difference in managing it.
So how is it managed once diagnosed?
The foundation is lifestyle changes: healthier eating, more physical activity, managing weight. That's crucial for controlling blood sugar. Depending on the severity and how well lifestyle changes work, medication might be needed. This could be pills or sometimes injectable medications, including insulin itself.
And it's a long-term thing.
Yes, it's a chronic condition. Lifelong management is required. So this CBSE initiative, setting up sugar boards, it really underscores the importance of prevention, especially focusing on diet within the school environment to try and curb this growing health challenge early on.
A sensible move, trying to build healthier habits.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears now to agricultural science and global recognition. Brazilian scientist Mariangela Hungria has won the 2025 World Food Prize for those tracking food security, sustainable agriculture. This is a big deal, right?
Absolutely. The World Food Prize is incredibly prestigious. It's often called the Nobel Prize for Food and Agriculture.
High praise indeed.
It recognizes individuals who've made really significant, tangible contributions to improving the world's food supply, whether that's the quality, the quantity, or the availability of food. It covers contributions across many different fields related to food and agriculture.
And who started this prize? What's its background?
It was founded back in 1986 by Dr. Norman Borlaug. He himself won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970 for his work on high-yield wheat varieties, the work that sparked the Green Revolution.
Ah, Borlaug.
Right. The prize is administered by the World Food Prize Foundation, based in Iowa. It comes with a $500,000 award and is presented each October during a big international symposium called the Borlaug Dialogue. And interestingly, the very first winner, back in 1987, was India's own Dr. M.S. Swaminathan for his leadership in India's Green Revolution.
Good connection. So what specific work by Mariangela Hungria earned her the 2025 prize?
Dr. Hungria is a microbiologist. Her award recognizes her decades of pioneering work developing biological treatments for seeds and soil.
Biological treatments, what does that involve?
Essentially, she's focused on harnessing beneficial soil bacteria. Her treatments help crops, particularly legumes like soybeans, utilize these bacteria to fix nitrogen from the air and access other nutrients already present in the soil.
So less need for synthetic fertilizers.
Exactly. That's a key outcome. Her work leads to increased crop yields and improved nutrition, but also significantly reduces the reliance on chemical fertilizers, which can have negative environmental impacts and be costly for farmers. It's a major step towards more sustainable agriculture.
That really does highlight the potential of working with nature in agriculture. Very important work. Now let's turn to India's security setup, specifically the Border Security Force, the BSF. Recent reports mention their vital role as the first line of defense on the Western Front, especially with current tensions. This emphasizes their wider responsibilities, doesn't it? For students of India's security forces, what should we know about the BSF.
Right. The BSF, the Border Security Force, is India's main border guarding organization. It's one of the 7 Central Armed Police Forces, or CAPFs, that fall under the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Not the Ministry of Defense.
No, Home Affairs. It was specifically raised in 1965, after the war with Pakistan that year, to ensure the security of India's borders and handle related matters. And yes, they are often called the first line of defense.
So what's their primary role day-to-day versus during conflicts?
In peacetime, their main job is guarding the borders, preventing illegal infiltration, smuggling, and other transnational crimes. But during wartime, they assist the Indian Army. They have intimate knowledge of the border terrain and the local population, which is invaluable.
Where are they mainly deployed?
Currently, they guard the Indo-Pakistan and Indo-Bangladesh borders. They also operate along parts of the line of control, the Lost Sea in J&K, usually under the Army's operational control there. And they've been involved in anti-Naxal operations in affected areas, too.
It sounds like a huge organization with diverse roles.
It is. In fact, it's the world's largest dedicated border guarding force. We're talking about roughly 186 battalions, over 2.5 lakh personnel, and it's quite unique among the CAPFs.
How so? What makes it unique?
Well, it's the only COPF that has its own dedicated air wing for transport and surveillance, a marine wing for patrolling riverine borders, and even its own artillery regiments. They also have specialized units like camel contingents for desert areas and dog squads, and they run the Tear Smoke unit, which supplies riot control munitions to other forces too.
Quite self-sufficient.
And their powers.
They have powers of arrest, search, and seizure under various laws relevant to border security, the Passport Act, Customs Act, the NDPS Act for drugs, the Arms Act, and so on. The force is led by a director general, typically a senior IPS officer, and their motto sums up their commitment: duty unto death. A critical force indeed, operating in very challenging environments. Okay, finally, let's talk about preserving India's heritage. An initiative called the Gyan Bharatam Mission is set to be launched by the Prime Minister on June 9, 2025. For those interested in culture, history, and knowledge systems, what is this mission about?
The Gyan Bharatam Mission is essentially a revamped and expanded version of the earlier National Mission for Manuscripts, or NMM, which started back in 2003. It's a major national initiative under the Ministry of Culture.
Okay, and what's its main focus?
Its core aim is the systematic survey, documentation, conservation, and, crucially, digitization of India's incredibly vast heritage of manuscripts.
That sounds like a monumental task. What are the specific goals?
They're ambitious. The target is to survey, document, conserve, and digitize over 1 crore, that's 10 million manuscripts. These are scattered across the country in institutions, libraries, museums, private collections.
10 million.
Yes. And the ultimate goal is to create a comprehensive national digital repository of Indian knowledge systems. The idea is to make this ancient wisdom accessible globally for researchers, students, the general public.
How are they planning to achieve this massive undertaking? What are the key features?
Well, it involves a huge nationwide survey effort, obviously. The digital repository itself will use modern tech AI for archiving, metadata tagging, maybe even translation tools. Collaboration is key, too, working with academic institutions, museums, libraries, private collectors, even international bodies.
And conservation. These manuscripts must be fragile.
Absolutely. Advanced scientific techniques will be used, potentially including AI and things like 3D imaging for preservation and study. And it's getting significant funding, around 482 crore allocated for 2024 to 2031, about 60 crore annually. The emphasis is definitely on making the digitized content widely accessible for research, education, and public knowledge.
Just to clarify, when we say manuscripts here, what exactly are we talking about?
Generally, it refers to handwritten documents on materials like paper, palm leaves, birch bark, cloth that are at least 75 years old and have some kind of scientific, historical, or artistic significance.
Can you give an example?
A famous one is the Bakshali manuscript. It dates from maybe the 3rd or 4th century BCE, written on birch bark. It's a mathematical text, and incredibly, it contains the earliest known written use of the symbol for 0 as a placeholder. That just shows the kind of profound knowledge locked away in these documents that the Gyan Bharatam Mission aims to preserve and share.
A truly significant national effort to safeguard and unlock that heritage. Well, that brings us to the end of part 1 of our deep dive into the current affairs of May 19th, 2025.
We've covered quite a range.
We really have. From coral bioink to ancient three-eyed predators, defense tech, e-passports, lunar geology, public health initiatives, agricultural prizes, border security, and finally, manuscript preservation.
It really highlights the interconnectedness, doesn't it? Seemingly disparate events, but all relevant for understanding the bigger picture.
Especially for your UPSC preparation. We hope connecting these dots helps. We definitely encourage you to reflect on these topics, think about their broader implications for India and for the world.
Indeed. Keep thinking critically about how these pieces fit together.
And on that note, maybe a final thought for you to mull over. In this era of such rapid change in technology, geopolitics, environment, how does developing that ability to connect seemingly unrelated events actually equip you with a more, maybe nuanced perspective to face future challenges and grab future opportunities? Something to consider.
A good point to ponder.
Okay, that's it for this session. Please do hit like and subscribe if you found this useful. It helps us keep bringing you these analyses. This was part 1 of our May 19th, 2025 Current Affairs Deep Dive. We'll be back with part 2 soon.